Welcome to the Brad and Taylor Show. Today we have Doug Kwiatkowski.
You're listening to The Brad and Taylor Show, a podcast that inspires entrepreneurs to pursue their passions. We're sitting down with some of the best to learn how they got started and some lessons they learned along the way.
Hey, Doug.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
We're good. How are you?
Doing good.
Real good. Can't complain.
Oh,
Nice.
yeah. So what exactly do you do, Doug?
So I'm a real estate broker in Ohio and Michigan. We just opened up our own brokerage in November here in Sylvania, Ohio. And I've been doing real estate for 17 years, primarily in Ohio, but do have my Michigan license as well. So it keeps me pretty balanced as far as the two states, since we're so close to the Michigan line. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when
Yeah.
you were younger, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, I always kind of knew I'd be in business. My dad was self-employed. He owned bars and then got into real estate as well.
Uh-huh.
So that's where I got my first taste of real estate was kind of managing properties when I was 16. I was collecting rents and doing
That's cool.
maintenance and sweating pipes and all that fun stuff. So I learned quite a bit growing up as far as taking care of properties, managing them, collecting rents, all that fun stuff. So.
Oh, so you got started real young then.
Yep.
So that's
Yep.
awesome. So when did you get your license then?
So I got my license in 2004 for just being a realtor, and then, like I said, last year I got my Ohio and Michigan broker's licenses. So I'm actually broker for both states. My wife Katie is also a broker here in Ohio.
Gotcha. Is there any other jobs you had before kind of getting into real estate that kind of helped you along the way?
Yeah. So I was worked for big corporate for a while. I worked for a company called ThyssenKrupp. Originally we were copper and brass sales, and then we got bought out by ThyssenKrupp. They're I always kind of compare them to like kind of the German GE, so to speak, in a lot of different businesses. We were primarily in metals distribution. So I started off, really kind of working in the warehouse, and then from there I made my way up into management and then upper management, and then finally decided to get into real estate. But really, those experiences, with managing people,
Yeah.
systems. I had, so as we grew, our role in the company grew. I had to develop a database system, and just trying to get into more of the technology side. And that's definitely been one of my expertise is really looking at the different technologies that are out there and try to maximize those as best we can to improve efficiencies. Looking at what we can do to better communicate with our clients and such.
Yeah, for sure. When you first started out in real estate, I know you mentioned that your dad was a realtor beforehand, before you were. So did he give you any advice or point you in any direction that has just kind of stuck with you throughout the years?
I think I just kind of learned from osmosis.
Yeah.
He was really hands-on quite a bit. So just watching him how to do things, and sometimes just getting thrown into the fire.
Right.
How it is.
Yeah, especially.
Especially with real estate, it seems like to kind of learn the basis a little bit.
Yeah.
But he did teach me obviously a lot of on the accounting and the money side of things. Especially more with the bars, so to speak. So again, I was 16, 17 years old. Counting the drawers. Getting the inventories all squared up. Paying vendors and whatnot. So I was off to the races, even looking at small business even back then. So
Yeah.
so I've always been pretty multifaceted as far as just trying to keep busy and doing different things and whatnot. So
That's awesome. So when you kind of left doing the corporate stuff and switched over to real estate, did you jump into it full time, or did you kind of gradually go into it? Like, how did that first transition go for you?
yeah, so the first year I had planned to do it part time. But really, the end goal was to get into real estate full time. So I did do about a I wouldn't say a full year, but about 9 months or so. Did kind of double duty, and then finally just decided like, look, I just need to jump in, and so I left ThyssenKrupp in 2005. So that was like right before the big crash. So I had a couple of years of just trying to get things moving forward, and then things kind of got put on the brakes, and that was a difficult couple of years trying to maneuver through 2008 through 2010. But actually those for me was actually strong years because I really had to develop really good critical skills,
Yeah.
marketing skills, just even following up with clients to try to get them to either look at houses or sell houses, or try to figure out the ways to make deals happen, because it was just as much of a difficult market it is right now as far as the seller's market. back in 2008, it was a buyer's market. So we had 8,000 houses for sale here locally, where right now we have less than 800 for sale. So quite a bit of difference in marketplace, but you have to figure out how to make it work, and you're always kind of changing and adapting too, and you just have to look for those avenues to make it work.
Yeah, for sure. What was the first property that you went to? I know you were kind of already used to the business at that point, probably. So how did that first one go for you? Was that smooth?
As far as like the first showing or
Yeah, like the first
listing?
transaction that you went
Okay.
with. Yep.
Yeah, so it was a family member's. It was one of my it was my ex-wife's grandfather's brother's house, and so it was a little house over in West Toledo. Actually went really smooth. We got an offer right away, which was awesome. I was pretty stoked about that. And just a little tiny house was sold as is. Some investors actually ended up buying it, and put a lot of love into it, and then they ended up flipping it. So. But it was a good experience. We actually learned quite a bit as far as the the process for dealing with family members that have just lost a family member, to working with the attorneys. Obviously they're a big important part of our business, to making sure that we're working with them to figure out what we got to do and paperwork and whatnot to get the deals closed. And then working through some of the inspection items too, because that's always a big part of it. Especially in today's market. Back when I first bought my first house, which was in '93, we didn't have inspection companies. So now, it's such a huge part of the overall process. And I would say I would never recommend anybody not buying a house without an inspection, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, absolutely. What is the worst property you have been to?
The worst?
The worst one.
Well, I've definitely seen some bad ones, but no matter what, every house you could potentially sell. It's just you have to obviously tell, if you're on the buy side, obviously you just have to obviously let them know that, hey, this is pretty rough. Probably the one that I can think of was one of my listings, where it was unfortunately a divorce situation, and the because of the court situation, everything like that, they had to sell this house. Well, the house had significant termite damage, and two of the bedrooms actually were uninhabitable because the floors were so sloped that you'd probably fall through them if they were walked on. So that was probably one of the worst ones. But I've also seen houses in great areas. I remember one, especially during the foreclosure process back in 2000. That was probably 2008 or 2009, where somebody had completely stripped this house out, and it was like a $600,000 or $700,000 house that was selling for 200. And they completely gutted the kitchen, they gutted the bathrooms, they took the banisters, they took the trim off the windows.
Oh
It was
man.
basically just a shell of a house.
Yeah.
And that to me is just as crazy too, to think about outside of condition, but that somebody could just walk away from a house, completely strip it, and then just move on like
Yeah.
nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
When people strip the homes like that, or back in the day when they were doing that, was it someone who lived there that did that, or is it someone who like broke in at that point and was just taking everything that they could?
That's a good question. Unfortunately, I don't know the answers to
Yeah.
that. It doesn't look like it was broken into, but at the same time, who knows? It could
Right.
have been, somebody just, whoever it was left the keys on the door, and just said, whatever. And maybe if somebody knew it, then they could take advantage of that situation. So
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause
yeah,
that's a
kind
lot
of.
of stuff to take out of a home like that.
It is,
It's a
yeah.
lot.
So you never know. Like I said, I didn't know all the details of it. And it was a bank foreclosure too at
Yeah.
that point. So
Yeah.
we typically don't have all the answers, but that was pretty crazy. Some of the other things I've seen is, I've seen, significant foundation issues, which are always, one of those big things that we always look for. There's
Yeah.
definitely parts of town that we have to watch for, or in our area, I should say, that we have to look for those type of things. Every area seems to have its own little nuances. We have some sandier areas, so we have to watch for termites in those areas. More of the clay areas, we have to watch foundation issues or radon issues. So there's kind of these different things that we're always kind of looking out for our clients. Because it's you just never know. Not that I'm can see everything. But that's again why we always back it up with a home inspection on top of it.
That's
Right.
awesome. So like moving forward, kind of what you guys have for, like, tell us a little bit about your team and how you guys got started, and just tell us a little bit about your team.
Yeah. I've been in, like I said, the business for 17 years or so, and really about 6, 7 years ago is when I started to decide to look into building a team. I had made a switch to my previous broker, which was Remax, and was looking at into this, and it really just seemed like that's kind of the way of the future. You know, I'd seen a couple other teams, and so I started growing that team. And then at the same time, my father-in-law, or now father-in-law, started building his team, and he had 5 agents, and I had 5 agents. So after Katie and I got married, then at that point we decided to merge our teams. So it seemed like one merger kind of led to another merger, and
Yeah.
it all kind of kind of laid into place like that. So, but yeah, we're really happy with our group. Last year we did about $40 million in business, and
Good
we're
for
on
you
track
guys.
to beat that this year too. So even with COVID, we're seeing some pretty good activity out there. Fortunately for us, we're primarily in Ohio, which we were able to be essential workers, whereas in
Yeah.
Michigan, unfortunately, they shut us down for about 3 months, and that hurt a lot of companies out there, because if they were strictly in Michigan, then it really was difficult to make anything happen. So
Yeah, that kind of worked out for you guys. Just, I mean, for that, like just being right on the border there. Because I
yeah.
remember like, I was like, oh, our Ohio location's the only one that can work. Everyone get out and work. Guys, we need some sales.
I know. Yeah,
It was crazy.
yeah, it was a crazy time. But again, like I said earlier, you just have to adapt to the
Yep.
changes, and make stuff happen. So we were able to use what we're on right now, Zoom, for our weekly meetings, and just try to keep our team up to date as far as what the government was allowing, what our boards were allowing. Try to people walk through as far as what was the right way to do showings with masks and gloves and hand sanitizers and all that fun stuff. So it was interesting time for sure, but we made it out pretty nicely. And actually, really, when you look at our board numbers, the numbers were still pretty solid. We had really about 2, 3 months of downturn here in Ohio, but when it came back, it really came back stronger, than we would have probably seen.
Mhm.
So I like to compare it back to like 2014 or 15, where we had some really bad winter storms come through, and we were shut down for about 3 months, and then really the rest of that year was just chaotic. So what you
Right.
did was you squeezed 12 months of business into 9 months of
Yep.
business,
Yep.
because if somebody's making a decision to buy a house or sell a house, all it's going to do is affect the timing of it. It's not going
Mhm.
to affect the stopping of it, so to speak.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Going forward, kind of with your team, do you guys have any goals set in place that you want to accomplish in the next year?
Well, obviously one of our things is just our own growth. We'd like to see
Mhm.
our business grow a little bit larger, adding more agents to our team. Obviously, continued success with our buyers and sellers out there. One thing that we're looking at right now is trying to get more into the new construction area, trying to partner up with some builders that are out there. It's kind of hard to crack some of that, because it's a lot of it's been kind of long term with some other agents, but that's okay. So but we're looking into those different areas to try to build our business up a little bit more.
Yep. Got to work into those. Those don't just come over time. Those come over time. So got to go
Yep,
for it, right?
exactly. Yeah,
Got to start
exactly.
now.
Well, exactly. I mean, it's always, you just got to keep those feelers out, and keep in touch with the builders and
Yep.
whoever it is actually, as far as business goes. So, but that's been part of our success, is not saying no, and just trying to find out a better way of doing it for whatever client it is out there.
Awesome. So let's say you had agent just starting with you guys and kind of just brand spanking new.
Mhm.
How would you advise them to spend their first $1,000?
First $1,000. A lot of it, I'll say this for our newer agents, and even our established agents here in our group, we do a lot of the internal marketing and advertising for them. So we do a lot of that already up front. So, but I would say is, what we primarily tell is, they really need to focus on, 200 of their closest, friends, family, neighbors, coworkers, whoever it might be in your sphere, that could potentially be a spot for business. And to me, that's really the most important. When we look at our business, because we do a biweekly meeting with our agents, and one things that we always look at is where are our deals coming from. And typically, it's coming from somebody that we know. About 75% of business comes from somebody that we know. It could be family, friends, past clients, could be, they're selling their own houses or they're referring somebody else to us. Could be somebody else in their sphere that, is out there as well. So I would say that's probably the smartest money is marketing to that group right there to let people know that one, you're in business, two, that you're full time, and three, you're ready to sell their house or help them buy a house. And a lot of the tools that are out there obviously are free too, between Facebook, Zoom meetings, you've got Instagram, you got Snapchat. I mean, you got all these different social media platforms that are out there. Getting the word out, to at least to that sphere is pretty easy and pretty inexpensive. When you start to get, go outside of that bubble, then that's when it gets a little more expensive. So, but we also do a lot of, old school still. We do flyers, we're doing postcards, we're doing mailers, getting the good word out that way too. So that's another avenue, which obviously that could be hand delivered if somebody wanted to, do it that direction. But if they feel that it's more of a mail type of thing, we certainly help out with that as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like all the marketing you guys do for agents. That actually, that's a lot different than most places. So good for you guys.
Well, we're kind of, like it's kind of a big family, I mean, there's 14 of us total, we've got, between, the three of us, and we've got 9 other agents. And we've also got our staffing as well. And it is really more of a family, idea, at least at this size. So it's easier for us to market all of our agents and such like that. And we do try to keep it fair and make sure that everybody's getting, the proper press that they should be getting, obviously, out there. So yeah,
That's awesome.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's awesome. Is there any books that you've read that you could recommend to someone starting out in the business or in any business?
There's a couple of them out there. I mean, there's, I'd probably say like Customer Satisfaction is Worthless. That's always a good one. I know, I like Gary Vanderbeek, Crushing It. I mean, he's he's a little bit different, for our group, here in the Midwest, but I spent a couple of years out in New York with my past work. So for me, having a little bit of that New York attitude is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because, he just cuts to the chase, which is, I mean, and, I'm not going to cuss online, but obviously, he's a little more frank than a lot of the other speakers that we have out there. So, but I like his frankness, I like his directness, and that's kind of that New York attitude, which is just cut to the chase, tell me how it is, and let's move forward, or how do we work this out? So which is pretty cool. There's a lot of other real estate influencers out there that we watch. Jared James, he's always a good one. The guys at Curator are always really good. Tom Ferry. A couple others that are out there that we kind of watch to see where the trends are at, and as far as where our focus should be at. And it's always ever changing. When we first started building the team, we were doing a lot of landing page ads and such like that on Facebook, and it was it was just crazy, and it was going really well. And then as Facebook changed their logarithms, and on top of it, then they started changing the privacy stuff, especially with Apple now changing some of their privacy stuff. And then really from there too, we started looking at, people started getting, kind of figuring out those ads, so they stopped, going to them, so we had to kind of change and maneuver as we went to them. Same thing with some of our other lead generation stuff, Zillow and Realtor and all these other different areas that we, try to, promote and, work with new clients. Those are always ever changing as well. So it's always, we just have to keep our eyes open to see what's the newest and latest, greatest thing out there.
That's awesome. So how can somebody get a hold of you guys?
So we are, you can call us obviously at our main office, which is 419-386-0123. You can check us out on the web, which is epichomes.forsale. Or you can come to our office here in Sylvania, which is 5674 Mayberry Square. And we're right across the street from Centennial Terrace, which is on the corner of Centennial and Sylvania Metamora.
Hey, awesome. That's great. Yeah. Thanks for coming on and sharing your story with us today.
Yep, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Are these working?
All right.
Here we go.
Oh, there we go. I think they're working. Should we tell them?
Mine keeps falling. It doesn't like my voice.
What do we got to tell them?
Subscribe.
Subscribe? What do we got to point at? Hey, I think there's a subscription button. Like
it might be there.
It might be right there too.
Somewhere.
Find
it. It's red.
Yeah. And red. It's blue. It's green. I don't really know.
It's a color.
This mic isn't even attached. Did you plug these in? Well, I guess.
I wonder if they can hear us.
Yeah. I wonder if they hear us. Well, we should probably tell them if they can hear us. We should probably tell them to also give us a 5-star review if they're listening on Apple. That'd be cool.
5 stars,
review.
guys.
Share it with everybody they can think of.
We won't take 4 stars.
I mean, Taylor, I don't even think these are on. I mean,
I don't think this is working.
This is not working.